So I'm inside the Iranian Aerospace Park, which is a museum and a tribute to something that's the national pride of Iran. Its missile program, its drone program, its air defense program, and its space satellite program. And I was just granted a tour by 4 experts in each area. They were former IRGC officers, all retired. I was actually supposed to meet an active duty commander today, but I was told, was on a mission, and I was not able to or allowed to film the tour. So I'm going to do my best to recapitulate to you what I've learned on this tour, at least in a general sense. And as you can see, this is a hall of ballistic missiles, ending with the most developed in Iran's field. But behind me, if we go over here, is one of the most important figures in Iranian military history. It's Sadr Hassan Tehrani Moghadam, who is the godfather of Iran's missile program. Now, during the Iran-Iraq War, Saddam Hussein, at the onset of the war, was using his advantage, technological advantage, was getting a lot of support internationally, including from the West, to attack Iranian cities. The war on cities devastated Iranian civilians. He was using the war on civilians to pressure Iranian leadership into giving up. And that's when Moghadam started to develop the first missiles. No one was allowed to export technology or missiles to Iran, even at the time under the Shah. And so it began with it as a domestic program, and today it's still a completely domestic program. Even after Muammar Gaddafi agreed to support Iran's missile program, he asked their leadership to begin attacking Saudi Arabia, and that's when they ejected Libyan proxies from Iran. You can see that the missiles behind me are some of the first that were developed during the Iran-Iraq War. The launch time took several hours. They were not very precise, but by the early 1990s, Iran was able to reduce launch time under the guidance of Moghadam and precisely target Iraqi cities to the point where they struck near Saddam Hussein's own residence at a bank, which was housing on its ground floor Iraqi intelligence. They also hit a meeting of Iraqi soldiers, infuriating Saddam, and they were able to end the war on cities by advancing their ballistic missile program and producing Scud missiles, or Scud replicas, like you see behind me. Now we're going to move further down. These are shorter range missiles which rely on solid fuel, reducing the launch time. And we have the Hypersonic missile, which has a range of 1,600 kilometers. At the end here, again, relies on solid fuel. And all the way at the end is, I think, one of the most important missiles in the arsenal. We're going to walk down towards this black missile towards the end. This is the Fatah missile. This is the first hypersonic missile in Iran's arsenal, and it was used in True Promise 1, Iran's retaliation against Israel for attacking its consulate inside Syria. This is a hypersonic missile that has a 2-phase launch. It has a range of 1,400 kilometers. The warhead activates when the target is locked in. The missile then accelerates from Mach 5 to Mach 15. My guide asserted that this missile cannot be intercepted by the Iron Dome system because it's able to maneuver once it locks onto its target and changes angle. And in order for it to be struck by a system like the Iron Dome, they first have to calculate the launch point, which is often hidden and difficult to do. It's why we saw many of these missiles strike the Nevatim Air Base and strike other targets. Over here, these are hypersonic warheads, and they can be installed on any of the missile launching systems that we just saw in the hallway that we walked through. Behind me, a tribute to the architects of Iran's missile system, the scientists. This museum is a tribute to Iranian scientific innovation, mostly conducted under sanctions and heavy pressure and being surrounded by military bases. And so patriotic Iranians are very proud of these figures behind me. I mentioned Moghadam, the godfather of Iran's missile system. He was killed testing a new missile 14 years ago in an accident. So many students come here for field trips, and this is, a lot like the Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C., or the Rocket Museum in Huntsville, Alabama, where it's a major tourist place and Iranian school kids come here. It's a source of national pride. So now we're in the drone section. This is Iran's first drone. It's called Talosh, which means strive, and it was introduced in 1991 during the Iran-Iraq War. Very primitive drone. It only was equipped with a camera used for surveillance. It could fly for about 40 minutes, and nevertheless gave birth to one of the most powerful drone systems in the world, which is now exporting, including to Russia, which is using Iranian drones in the Ukrainian theater. So now we can see the development of Iranian drones beginning to look more and more like jets. The Shahed 121 is there, and this is one of the most significant drones in Iran's arsenal. It's the Shahed 171, and it was reverse engineered from the US RQ-170, which is why it might look so familiar to Americans. In 2014, Iran took down a drone that the US launched from its base in Kandahar, Afghanistan, entered Iranian airspace, and brought it to Iran for examination, and this is the outcome. And it's now one of the more advanced drones in Iran's arsenal. This is the Shahed 129, and this is one of the drones that Iran used in its operations against Daesh, ISIS, in Syria and Iraq. That was at the time when the IRGC was actually quietly partnering with the US military, was a de facto ally of the US in destroying and eradicating this Takfiri scourge from the region, and this drone played a critical role in achieving military dominance over those forces. Once again, we have a reverse engineered drone. This is the Shahed 139, which was reverse engineered from the US MQ-1 drone. It can carry 6 rockets and it can fly for 28 hours. Again, a major advancement in Iranian drone technology. This is the Shahed 136. It's a suicide drone. It detonates its target, and this was a drone that was actually used in True Promise 1, was developed about 13 years ago and is mass produced now in Iran. And here we have a much more advanced version of the Shahed suicide drone, which is a Shahed 238. It has a jet engine, can fly between 400 and 600 kilometers per hour, and can be launched in a series by what you see behind me, which is a multiple drone launcher. It can launch, I think, 5 drones at once. Unfortunately, we can't go out to that yard. Now we're going to go into a section of the museum dedicated to foreign drones, enemy drones that were captured. The flag of the IRGC, flag of Iran. And in order to get into this section, I have to walk over flags of the designated enemies, the US and the Zionist entity, as you can see here. This is an Israeli Hermes drone produced by Elbit Systems, Israel's state weapons entity, weapons company, and it was launched from Azerbaijan and was on its way to targeting the Natanz nuclear facility located in Iran's city of Isfahan, and it was taken down by Iranian air defense systems and reverse engineered into the Shahed 121 system. Next to me is the Predator drone, the most notorious drone in the US arsenal, also taken down. And behind me, this extremely large, partially destroyed drone is a US Global Hawk. It was launched by the Navy. The US Navy, it entered Iranian airspace over the Persian Gulf and ignored warnings, and it was taken down by Iran's homemade Sevet Khordad air defense system, also known as Khorramshahr, and it's now in the process of being reverse engineered, and this is the actual drone that was taken down. There's a small exhibition dedicated to the Sukhoi jet, which is in the process of overhaul. This is the Sukhoi 22. It's a Russian-produced jet. Iran had begged for access to this weapons platform during the Iran-Iraq War. Iraq possessed it. It's a bomber plane, and it was doing enormous damage to Iranian troops and to Iranian civilians in cities. They were unable to obtain it. And then when they finally did get it, this is a second generation plane, kind of equivalent to the F-4, F-5, pretty outdated. When they did get it, Russia refused to help them overhaul and update it. So Iran embarked on a domestic upgrade system. So basically just taking the platform and modernizing it using Iranian technology. That's something that Iran specializes in, using antiquated equipment and bringing it up to date. A quick gallery of the helicopters that Iran has deployed. So we're now in the air defense system, the air defense section. These are all domestically produced systems described to me by our guide as the cutting edge of domestic Iranian technology. Behind me is a system that has a 500-kilometer range. And it can cover the whole of the country. If 4 or 5 of them are deployed, can trace up to 200 aircraft in a minute. This is a more mobile radar system that has a 200-kilometer range and can identify up to 20 aircraft in any given area. Inside this exhibition is the Khordad Command and Control Center. This is where radar systems are assessed, and if enemy aircraft enter, it's reported to deploy what you see over here, which are domestically produced anti-aircraft systems. This is the Tabas system. It's the first of Iran's domestically manufactured anti-aircraft systems. And as we move down here, we just simply see more modern systems until we reach the Sevom Kordat. This is the system that took down the US Global Hawk, which was launched by the US Navy in the Persian Gulf. It can engage 4 targets every 9 seconds. And I was told about a more secret system, at least they're not willing to publicly disclose it at the museum by my guide, that has a 450-kilometer range. Its missiles have a 320-kilometer range and 27-kilometer altitude, and they can engage up to 8 targets at a time. And over here is a replica of the Gadil early warning system, which covers a 1,500-kilometer range. And it's just to warn the more advanced radar systems on the ground about incoming enemy aircraft. So I asked my guide about the aircraft that are stationed currently, the US aircraft stationed currently at the Diego Rivera Air Base in the Indian Ocean, which are there to threaten Iran. We're talking about F-18s, Hornets, and B-2 bombers, stealth bombers. And I asked if Iran's missile systems, anti-air defense systems, can actually deter attacks from these aircraft. And he said that using passive radar, they can detect both. Anything that can be detected can be intercepted from the ground. However, he acknowledged that detecting the B-2 is a lot more difficult than any other aircraft. And that was sort of the point of producing them. I also asked about Israel's attack last year, which followed the Last True Promise operation, which targeted Iran's S-300 air defense systems and the Parchin facility. And he refused to answer that question. He was not able to answer that question, I guess, for security reasons. We're here in a section dedicated to Iran's space program. It began in 2005. And in 2008, Iran had its first successful satellite launch, launching small-scale satellite for scientific purposes into space. However, in 2021, Iran got its Noor-1 satellite into space, which can be used for military purposes, environmental applications, and for mapping, which is obviously critical to Iran's military advancement. Noor 2 went into space the following year in 2022, and Noor 3, which is able to go higher, provide more mapping, more surveillance capacity. So the advancements continue. You can see that there is a display here showing how the launch takes place. The launcher releases a smaller one into space, and this is the final phase of launch. It's like a 4-phase launch until the Noor satellite is released. And over here is one of the 4-phase launchers that enabled Iran's satellite program. It's known as Gased. Go over into the outdoor yard, which I'm unfortunately not able to enter. We can see the most advanced launching missiles in Iran's space program right here. Timurk and the Safir Fajr, and here's the launching vehicle. So after getting through the space program section, there's a little gift shop. Just like at any US museum, these are just, toy guns that any boy would like. Domestically produced Iranian gifts. 7 minutes to Tel Aviv, referring to the hypersonic missile, right? The Fatah?
Exactly.
Tell us about your gift shop.
We try to make a little shop so we can give some memorials and stuff to help people remind themselves of the place that they visited, about the things that they learned. For example, we have Shahed 136, which is our newest drone, and yep, we have also some stuff for the kids so they can enjoy here visiting too.
As an Iranian, what is this missile program and space program and the drones, and what does it mean to you? Are you proud of it?
I am really proud of it because this is not about a religion. This is not about a culture. This is about our nationality. We, no matter if I'm Muslim, if I'm Christian, if I'm Jew, or even if I'm an atheist, I believe that my country should be powerful because we have been and are the country that brings the peace into the Central Asia and Middle East. And we talk about it a lot, but they say we shouldn't have them. Well, why not? Because in our eyes, we are the people who are protecting this region. We are protecting the people in need. So I am proud of it, and I love it, and I will still protect this idea.
What's your name?
I'm Ali Reza.
Ali Reza, thanks a lot. Look for this at the Grayzone, thegrayzone.com. So I think one of the takeaways for me after touring Iran's aerospace park, as you heard from the young man at the gift shop, they're proud of their space program, they're proud of their ballistic missile program, drones, for two reasons. Number one, they've developed these under sanctions, under so much pressure, surrounded by hostile military bases, and they have been able to advance to the point where they're putting satellites into space and they are exporting technology to countries which have refused to export to them in the past. And the second reason is they are using these for national defense. They are threatened existentially by the US and Israel. And so there is no way that I can see any possible scenario in Iranian-US negotiations where the Iranian government would be able to give up their ballistic missile program or their hypersonic missiles, their long-range missiles, which the US government has demanded in the past and which the Israel lobby is pushing the US government to demand. That is a red line because it is a matter of national pride for Iran and actually national survival.